Thanks for listening to Mueller, She Wrote. The she in Mueller, She Wrote is no accident. Did you know we are 100% women-owned and operated? Every single person that helps make this podcast possible identifies as a woman. Our creative and web design, our engineer, our producer, our editors and digital media manager, our agent, our ad execs, our merchandising manager, and even the USPS clerk who helps us with shipping and our P.O. box. All women and all LGBTQ plus allies. We will continue to employ and partner with women as our podcast grows. But we could use your help. So please support women in podcasting by visiting MuellerSheWrote.com and become a patron today.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians.
What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
So, it is political. You're a communist.
No, Mr. Green. Communism is just a red herring. Like all members of the oldest profession, I'm a capitalist.
Hello, and welcome to Mueller, She Wrote. I'm your anonymous host, AG, because I know how to hatch act. With me, as always, is Jaleesa Johnson.
Hey.
And Jordan Coburn.
Good to be here.
Wow. This week, though, in our hot notes, Jordan's going to be covering the House Intel Committee's premature climax. And we have Jaleesa, who's going to tell us all about a guy named Dan Scavino.
Yes.
I'm going to be covering the firing of another one of the Comey Five. But for now, let's get right to it with just the facts. Last weekend, Mother Jones released a video of Trump having a dialogue with someone named Maria Butina. That's a Torsion protege, you guys. And if you remember, Torsion is the NRA Russian guy. Remember from our bonus episode about the Russian money in the NRA? Well, during a public panel at Freedom Fest, you have to say it with a Southern accent.
Yeah, and pew, pew, pew in the background. Nice.
It was in July of 2015, right when he was thinking about running for president, starting to run. Butina asked Trump, he called on Butina like she was a press agent, and she asked Trump what would he do about the horrible sanctions that Obama administration put on Russia for invading Crimea. And Trump pretty much said he would get rid of them. So that's interesting.
Very.
Right. And we will cover that in our book miniseries. She's in there.
Yeah.
Why did he call on her? And why did his answer sound like he rehearsed it? It's all very intriguing. But anyway, he had established early on that he wanted to lift sanctions. So there you go. On Monday, NBC reported that one of Kushner's college buddies might have pushed the Kush to ease sanctions in Venezuela. So now we've got a foreign policy influence from China, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, Israel, Russia, and now Venezuela. Reports from the Associated Press show that Kushner had previous business dealings with this rich hunting buddy who donated like millions to Trump's campaign.
He's from Argentina?
I don't think so.
Oh.
He's just an old college chap.
Oh, got it.
But he does a lot of oil business in Venezuela.
Oh, Venezuela.
Yeah, and so he has exclusive access to the Trump family since the election.
Right.
The guy's name is Gentry Beach.
Mr. Beach. Yeah.
Gentry Beach.
Yeah. Son of gentrified.
Totally.
Mr. Beach is my father.
He's gentrified for sure. Well, Jared and Gentry opened a company together that Kush didn't report. Whoa.
Go figure.
It's being looked at whether Beach's friendship with Kushner got him into high-level meetings about relieving Venezuelan sanctions to open up fuel opportunities. So that's nice. Prime Minister Theresa May said on Monday that it's highly likely the Russians poisoned ex-double agent Sergei Skripal in Salisbury on March 4th. They found Sergei and his daughter Yulia slouched over on a bench, poisoned by a nerve agent known to be Russian.
That's crazy.
Sarah Sanders called the episode reckless, indiscriminate, and irresponsible, but refused to blame Russia.
Irresponsible? That's what murder is?
Yeah. Very.
Then she's like, oh, wait, sorry. Those were my notes on this whole administration.
Driving and texting, not cleaning up your room, poisoning people with nerve agents.
Yeah,
She refused.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that's such eerie imagery. The two of them slumped over on a bench. It's crazy.
It is. It's very scary and creepy. But she refused to blame Russia. But we will hear stronger words from the White House later in the week. Nikki Haley would condemn Russia on behalf of the U.S. in the UN on the following Wednesday, so that was good. As predicted from last week's show, Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee announced Monday that they were all done with the Russia investigation. They've concluded there was no collusion. And a step further, they've concluded that Russia might have meddled in the elections, but not on behalf of Donald Trump.
Predictable.
So predictable. And Jordan's going to be talking about that later in the show. An interesting note buried in this story is that Chuck Grassley appears to be preparing to release the transcripts of the Senate Intel Committee's interviews with the participants of the June 2016 meeting, the one in Trump Tower with Veselnitskaya and Goldstone and all those people. I don't think there's anything in them but denial and refusal to answer questions, so I won't be looking forward to them too much. But, I think he's doing it to be like, look, we're transparent. Here's the transcripts of people who refuse to answer questions. Keep in mind, none of this has anything to do with the Mueller investigation, but it does give Trump and his White House an amazing talking point. So he can say now he has proof there's no collusion.
Exactly.
His base will believe it.
They're really convinced. We had a lot of bots this week,
I got attacked by bots pretty hard on the McCabe thing. I'll talk about that later. But none of the stuff is exculpatory. That the House is coming out saying no collusion. That's not exculpatory for obstruction of justice or money laundering or tax fraud. But Trump could he use it to fire Mueller? Now that the investigation's over. Did Sessions and Francisco and Rosenstein have dinner the other night to discuss the implications of this? Who knows? So
that would make sense, I guess.
But Jordan, we're gonna go deeper into that a little bit later in our hot notes. Bloomberg reported Monday that Mueller might be putting off obstruction charges. The investigation is said to be close to completion, but some have said he might set that lane aside while he works on collusion and the hacking of the Democratic Party, the DNC and Podesta. He's purportedly doing this because charges of obstruction could scare off witnesses, and he has yet to speak to Ivanka, Jared, Schiller, or Donald Trump Jr. So I think he's holding off because when he gets deep into obstruction, Rosenstein may have to recuse himself because he's a witness. He's the one who wrote the fake memo to fire Comey.
That's right.
So that's when Noel Francisco would take oversight of the Mueller probe. And that's another thing I'm sure Francisco, Sessions, and Rosenstein were talking about at dinner, because there's going to be a small window of time for Mueller to file obstruction indictments after Rosenstein recuses himself, but before Trump removes Francisco to install an attorney general that will stop the investigation. So it's kind of going to be like this timing thing where Rosenstein recuses himself. He interviews with Mueller. He puts together the case. That's the last piece of it. He puts on the finishing touches, and before Francisco's out and Trump can put in somebody to fucking fire him or whatever, he indicts or reports or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see.
We do this podcast every single week, but this week is the one that really feels to me things are moving and shaking, and it's like we're really getting into tit for tats, and they're going to do these actions. Mueller has to do these actions. Shit's going down.
It is. It feels like it's loosening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the floodgates are starting to open up.
Yeah, it's like straight warfare, right?
It's just been leaks, and the dam's about to break, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So good analogies with water. Moving on to early Tuesday. Trump fired Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State.
Crazy.
Interesting in light of Tillerson's recent comment about Russia being responsible for the poisoning of the ex-double agent in the UK and his daughter. So Tillerson understands the fifth article of NATO, but Trump is pretty anti-NATO. He always was in the campaign, just like Putin is. The fifth article basically says if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. That's the fifth article of NATO. So if somebody does a nerve gas attack on UK soil, we're supposed to be like, you've attacked us on our soil. Trump isn't that guy, I guess.
No.
But he doesn't like to say nasty things about Russia. But we'll hear some stuff later in the week. Rex Tillerson was brought on early, announced by Carter Page a day before he was even appointed, when he was given a speech in Moscow. And his onboarding was managed by Nunes, our good buddy. He was the transition team member in charge of coordinating appointments.
Right.
Tillerson is a former ExxonMobil CEO. He did a big deal with Rosneft in 2011, and he's very well liked by the Russians. So Tillerson's statement indicates he put out a statement that he was fired. He didn't know why he was fired, but he was honored to serve. Quote, quote, the secretary had every intention of staying because of the critical progress made in national security. He will miss his colleagues at the Department of State and the foreign ministers he's worked with throughout the world. The secretary did not speak to the president and is unaware of the reason, but he's grateful for the opportunity to serve and still believes strongly that the public service is a noble calling.
Hey, if you ever fire us, could you do it over Twitter? I'd like to experience that.
Yeah? No, you wouldn't. I don't think that you would. I'll do it over Twitter, and then I'll tell everyone I told Julissa to tell you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just be like, enjoy this week's episode, and you just cut out everything that we
I'll
said.
take the fall.
Replacing Tillerson is Pompeo. He's the director of the CIA. He's a war hawk. He wants to bomb Iran after he tears up the nuclear deal Obama did.
Oh, boy.
He's also the guy I reported in episode 14 that met with the 2 Russian spy chiefs. Remember the Shannon Woodward episode where the spy chiefs came in from the FSB and SVR?
Yeah.
One of them is sanctioned, and he required a waiver from Tillerson to even be here. There was a third spy, the chief of the GRU, that's also sanctioned. But he traveled here, and no one knows who he met with or why. So that's still a mystery. I'm wondering if Tillerson's ouster and the rise of Pompeo. That sounds like a Gladiator movie.
It does.
The Rise of Pompeo.
A Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, the volcano explosion, right? That's the, yeah.
God, Michael Bay needs to stop making movies. I wonder if it has anything to do with those 3 Russian spy chiefs meeting with Pompeo. Did Tillerson not do what Russia thought he would? When you remember how in that last Comey or the last Steele memo, the Russians nixed Romney as Tillerson of State, as Secretary of State, and Tillerson was in there, and maybe they weren't happy with Tillerson. I wonder if Tillerson knows, and having been fired without notice, I wonder if he'll tell Mueller. So Tillerson didn't thank Trump in his farewell speech either. That's a sign.
That is.
And he made sure to slam Russia as an existential threat to the United States on his way out.
Nice.
So Russia's happy that Tillerson's gone.
Yeah, I definitely going on an indictment fantasy league for me. That guy.
Oh, yeah?
Tillerson?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since he came out against Russian nerve gas attack, I think Russia's happy that he's gone. A journalist from Russia even said, quote, Tillerson said that and Trump fired him. Trump is ours, unquote.
Jesus. Also, sorry, just to clarify, I mean, I think he'll talk to Mueller. Not that he's going to get indicted.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he'll end up cooperating.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in any trouble unless it's some other weird money laundering thing that comes up as a sideshow. But
I'm a little surprised, though. In the beginning, I thought Tillerson was one of the guys that would be like a part of it all. But I guess it just turns out he was just placed.
Money laundering is like the new just complete drunken video in college, sort of. Just comes up to bite you in the ass, or just it's always there. It never goes away.
And Trump didn't really know Tillerson, which is why he was an odd pick and why people think that Russia might have had a lot to do with it for Trump. He wasn't a Trump crony. He wasn't a family member. He wasn't a friend. He was an old ex-CEO of an oil company that did deals in Russia. So
that was it. That was his only real, anchor in the whole Russia thing, I guess.
Yeah. So also, White House aide McGinty.
Don't be so hard on yourself. How could you know that was Iron Balls McGinty?
It might be McKenty, I'm not sure, but he was fired Tuesday as well. He was being investigated for serious financial crimes by the Department of Homeland Security. He was escorted from the White House. He wasn't allowed to get his jacket, and it was cold outside. That's all.
That's so sad.
He's one of the last close aides to Trump. They call him Trump's body man. Like, he's the guy who stands there with markers and hands them to him when he's signing stuff. And,
okay.
Even that guy has to go?
Yeah. So
he knows too much.
So he was like
just the marker guy.
He was like the man Hope Hicks, So she's gone, he's gone. McKenty had been there since Trump was elected. We also learned Tuesday that Kellyanne Conway's in trouble for using taxpayer money to fly on private jets.
It's about time.
Classic. That's a classic one.
Yeah, that's a normal thing in this administration. So, and it makes me wonder if everyone's always been doing it, but we're just calling it out now because Trump's president.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing mattered for a while, but what if everything suddenly matters? All the backlash comes back and she actually gets fired for the Hatch Act or something.
Yeah, but it would have to be Trump that fires her.
True.
So who knows?
That'd be a plot twist in the movie.
Yeah, but he is cleaning house.
I was just gonna say, when he goes down in a flame of trying to cover his ass as he's falling down.
Yeah,
just true.
Yep, I think that's how it's going to go. A report came out from Washington Post on Tuesday that says 2 anonymous former Roger Stone aides told the Post that Stone had said he'd met with Assange in 2016. And this story felt really familiar to me, so I checked my notes. And we reported this in episode 5 about the relationship between Stone and Assange, and how Stone revealed to the House Intelligence Committee that a person named Randy Credeco had contacted him. And Randy has lots of meetings with Assange and Stone. He's like the go-between.
Okay.
Credeco was subpoenaed to testify to the grand jury in mid-September, Mueller's grand jury, or mid-December. Stone had said at the time there was nothing untoward about his meetings with Credeco. And we also reported at the time that the CIA director Pompeo had characterized WikiLeaks as an arm of the Russian intelligence, and this new WAPO report, Washington Post report, repeats that. And also in episode 5, we talked about the tweets by Stone that predicted the Podesta leak, which is also in this new article. And finally, we learned back then that those Podesta documents were hacked by the Russian state and given to WikiLeaks. So no wonder the article sounded familiar.
Yeah.
We reported it 4 months ago. So
I was going to say it only took 4 months to transpire.
I'm not sure why it just came out. Yeah. Anyway, that happened. The Hill reported Tuesday that the FBI attempted to call the Thai prison and speak to the Russian sex worker.
Whoa.
Wow.
That recorded the Navalny video of Deripaska on the yacht, remember?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
With the deputy prime minister. This was reported by a person in Thailand, so I don't know how credible it is. But there wasn't much to it. The FBI called. The jail said, no, you can't talk to her. The end.
Really?
Yeah. And I feel like the FBI wouldn't just like call up a prison and ask to talk to an inmate, like,
and then back down,
and
just
be
like okay,
bye.
plan B.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to bust her out of there.
They're just going to call Thailand, so.
Or how about your little phone call in Thai?
Jack can't talk Thai.
Oh, no, Dina, Jack can talk Thai. Jack talked Thai very well.
Reports from inside the White House emerged Tuesday saying Trump was thinking of getting rid of the Secretary of the VA. That's Dr. Shulkin. He's mired in controversy right now, and he's thinking about replacing him with Rick Perry.
Wow.
Rick Perry is an Air Force veteran, and he's a fabulous dancer. So,
Oh my goodness.
Also,
Subpar.
a total idiot.
yeah, he is an idiot, and I'd be concerned about it because I think you might want to privatize the VA, and privatization is bad, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's just bad.
I remember he had a really horrendous campaign video a few years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, with the toes on the beach or something.
Yeah, it was like
He had, like,
really
hobbit
bad.
feet or something. Yeah,
I got to look that up. I don't think I've
Yeah,
seen
maybe
it.
we can include it on the newsletter.
Yeah. Was that like pre-glasses, Rick Perry?
I think he wears the glasses for reading.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say I don't remember seeing glasses in this. Glasses are weak, Julissa.
Yeah, they make people
Who
weak.
wears glasses?
As I wear glasses.
That's so fun. At least you won't get hit. So,
Fair
also
enough.
on Tuesday, Sater, our good friend Felix Sater, he walked back his 2015 email claims that he and Putin could get Trump elected together. This was reported in the new book Russian Roulette by Isakov and Korn that we'll be covering in a miniseries, so look out for those. Basically, in 2015, Sater sent an email to Cohen, that's Trump's attorney, saying, quote, our boy can become president and we can engineer it. And I will get Putin on this program and we'll get Donald elected. Now he's saying he was exaggerating.
Oh my gosh.
This is a fascinating story, and we really go into it in some pretty good depth into our book report, so check it out. Tuesday night, Trump attended a fundraiser in Beverly Hills hosted by, guess who?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein.
No.
That's close. I would imagine.
Funny.
Alex Jones.
Brody.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So less than 2 months after Nader started cooperating with the FBI, Nader's arrested at Dulles on his way to Mar-a-Lago, and now he's cooperating with the FBI. Trump thinks it's a good idea to have Brody, one of Nader and Imbiza's homies, host a campaign fundraiser for him.
No decorum, class, thoughtfulness.
Our timing is
I wish
on
I had a better
point, though.
vocab word.
Anything.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's and that was after he. Well, you're probably going to talk about this.
This was this week.
Yeah, I was going to say it's after he was in San Diego.
Yeah, he was down here
viewing all of the different wall prototypes that all just
The walls
function
do
as a
look
fucking
sturdy.
wall.
They look good for walls.
I wasn't going to really talk about it because it's not really a Russia-related Mueller investigation thing.
True.
Although the wall may keep Russians out, I'm not sure. We may be safer from poison.
Good point.
That we could build the wall to help protect Gates. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like the wordplay on that.
Yeah, right? Wall, Gates. Gates wall. We'll call it Gates's wall.
Wallgate.
Wallgate
like
gate.
That.
Oh my God.
That's good.
A judge's order in the Manafort case was unsealed Tuesday in the Eastern District of Virginia, because he's got two now, right? D.C. and Virginia. Mm-hmm. This was the Virginia one, and it placed Manafort on house arrest, and the judge added this, I think it's a she, said this, quote, "These conditions are necessary because the defendant is a person of great wealth who has the financial means and international connections to flee and remain at large, as well as every incentive to do so. Wow. Specifically, given the nature of the charges against the defendant and the apparent weight of the evidence against him, the defendant faces the very real possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison." Unquote.
It's true. 305 years,
that's
right?
That's a bit extra.
That's the judge, y'all.
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
He's like, yeah, that's fair and impartial, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair and impartial. Yeah, exactly.
But what, is that true, though?
This is really important to enforce because he's going to go to prison for life, probably.
Yeah. Did you hear that the number was 305? Like 300?
370. It's realistically 18 to 20.
Got it.
On that one.
Okay.
His other one's 15 to 20.
Aye.
That's still crazy.
So that's like,
crazy.
40 to
years,
60
right?
years.
Lifetime. Yeah.
He's 60 something, so he'll be in there forever.
Oh no.
Manafort's trial for the Virginia case is set for July 10th. And his D.C. trial is in September. Either could be delayed. The D.C. trial already was delayed. Mm-hmm. But that's where it stands right now. And Mueller's ready to go in both.
Yeah, just waiting for him to just...
Even though he's got 500,000 pieces of evidence, and I'm not exaggerating, like that's the real number.
God.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there, his work's done on time.
Yeah,
he's busy
doing busy doing other things.
Yeah, just playing Sudoku.
He's probably a badass at Sudoku.
Oh.
He probably was able to finish Rachel Maddow's Friday themeless crossword puzzle.
Yes.
That I couldn't.
He's the most interesting man in the world.
He's the person we all want to be.
Mm-hmm. He could be the new most interesting man in the world. It seems really boring though.
Yeah.
It could be ironic.
Yeah, right? Like
he wears nothing but white shirts every day.
Yeah, he seems like
he has a Casio watch. He's the least interesting man in the world.
Yes.
Dems released their official response to the majority shutting down the House Intel Committee investigation into Russian meddling. We're going to have a whole mini-sode on the Minority Report this week. So the big news in that is that there is a second Trump Tower during the Trump campaign, facilitated by Cohen and Sater, financed by VTB Bank, a sanctioned Russian bank. So we're going to go into that.
And where was it going to pop up?
The tower?
Yeah.
Moscow.
Well, okay, got it.
So you remember how in 2014...
When the one with Ivanka failed?
Well, wait. In 2014, they were both with Ivanka. But in 2014, he was doing the Miss Universe pageant with Goldstone and Agalarov. He was going to do the tower with Agalarov. And that fell through because of the sanctions that Obama put in 2014.
Right.
Well, a year and a half later, Sater and Cohen got together and started planning it again.
Got it.
With a shell company and a Russian bank sanctioned.
And some laundered money.
While Trump is running for president, saying America first.
Yeah.
He's doing this secret backdoor deal for a second Trump Tower in Moscow.
Crazy.
That's a big damn deal.
I would hate so much if his grandmaster plan was, I can't get a building here. I'll just run for president and change everything so I can. And it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
That's pretty much it.
Late get this though, late Tuesday night, Trey Gowdy, the Republican king of Benghazi, he broke from the House Intel Committee majority and said he believes that Russian election meddling was in favor of Trump.
Wow, good for him.
That is great for him, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't part of that little Nunez Mean Girls club.
Good.
Yeah. Like where they were sneaking off.
Yeah, does that make him Katie? Did he break away?
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly, yes, yes. Yeah, and they did now I want to see the Jingle Bell Rock.
Yes.
With all of them in the outfits.
I want to see Trump, his face, like in that.
I don't want to see
video.
that.
Yeah.
Everybody but Trump.
We can make an e-card and then they can just have jail bars come over them at the end.
There you go.
We'll get Gowdy, Nunez. Yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll be great. I'm excited. And in the middle of the night, I predicted Connor Lamb would win PA 18 by 595 votes.
Yes.
He won by 642, and there are still 500 provisional ballots outstanding. So I could hit 595.
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
We'll see. Senator Warner says, despite what the House Intel Committee says, that the Senate Intel Committee agrees with the initial assessment of the intelligence community that Russians favored Trump.
Right.
And meddled when they meddled in our elections. So they say, yeah, we don't think what that fat fuck thinks.
They should just start talking like that. All bets are off anyways.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Just have names for each other. Like, well, shitbag over here says...
Just on CNN.
Yeah, totally. Like, Bitch Box said this.
Bitch Box, I love it.
Yeah.
So I got a Pacer alert Wednesday, you guys. Pacer is an account where I get alerts that new files have come up on dockets.
Oh, cool.
I'm a total nerd.
Sounds cool.
And there was a new court document filed in the Manafort case. So I looked it up, and I saw he's added a lawyer to his defense team named Richard Westling.
If Westley wants you, bless you both.
I found a New York Times piece on this, and it was the only news about it. And it was a brief paragraph or two saying that no one is sure why the lawyer was added, and he specializes in healthcare and environmental fraud and defense, and he's worked with the Department of Justice Tax Division. Well, I looked up this lawyer. The first thing I noticed on his webpage bio was that he was going to be a keynote speaker at the 10th annual White Collar Crime Symposium in Louisiana.
Wow.
In April.
Where they teach each other how to commit white collar crimes.
There's an annual White Collar Crime Symposium, and it's been going on for 10 years.
That's kind of cute.
How do they... What? Okay. May I ask what they do there?
Yeah, here we go. Here, we'll get to it. Not surprisingly, there's a very limited amount of information on the internet about the symposium. But I bet it's way nicer than the Blue Collar Crime Symposium. But I maybe we could go there to meet like future ex-husbands or something.
Oh, yeah.
You think? Like that's where we could go and be mob wives? I don't know.
Yes.
I like that.
But I checked out his bio a little closer. Basically, it's put on by the Louisiana Bar Association, and it's lawyers who defend white-collar criminals come in and talk about...
Jesus Christ! What a slimy fucking thing.
Yeah, it's come in and talk about
it's where the money
how
is.
They defend white-collar criminals. I checked out his bio a little closer, and buried in the healthcare fraud and environmental fraud were these accomplishments. Ready? Quote, specializes in tax controversies such as defending a business owner in an 8-week criminal tax evasion trial involving allegations of unreported income, improper treatment of employees as independent contractors, and the illegal use of offshore bank accounts. Represented an attorney in a criminal tax investigation relating to Point offshore tax shelters. Counseled individuals on issues relating to undisclosed foreign financial accounts, and assisted in making voluntary disclosures to the IRS and achieving foreign bank account report compliance. That's the F-bar. Manafort's got a lot of broken F-bars. And represented numerous individuals in criminal tax matters being investigated by the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS, various U.S. attorneys' offices, and the Department of Justice's Tax Division. Such representation included pre-indictment advocacy before the attorneys in a criminal section of the tax division. So that's why Manafort brought him on his team. He's like an offshore account tax dodge fraud specialist.
They could have also called the conference White Collar Crime Defense Conference or something, but they're just like,
no, this is the White Collar Crime Symposium.
Yeah, they have a shrine where they just worship like Bernie Madoff or something.
I don't know. But these are defenders. I believe these are defense attorneys. I don't know if there's a special prosecutorial white collar crime convention.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That maybe Bob Mueller can head up next year.
He would be their king, yes.
Yeah, he's pretty much the king of that. So shortly after that, you guys, Manafort filed a 46-page motion to have all the D.C. charges dismissed, alleging that Mueller went beyond the purview of his allowable jurisdiction. Within the motion, one of Manafort's lawyers said Manafort had been threatened with additional indictments, saying, quote, my client faces a game of criminal procedure whack-a-mole by the Mueller investigation, whose massive resources he cannot possibly hope to match. So, he's smarter than we are, is his cry. And as we know, this is not going to fly, as these crimes are well within the scope of the special counsel. And this seems like a desperate Hail Mary to me. Manafort knows he's facing life in prison, and in light of the recent nerve attack agent on Skripal in the UK, life in prison is probably his best option right now.
Oh my God, stuff is so crazy.
So I can't imagine
Jordan's breaking.
I can't imagine what it must be like to be Manafort's lawyer.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Early Thursday, the White House grew a little spine in its response to Russia. As you know, Wednesday, Nikki Haley condemned Russia in the UN, and Sarah Sanders released a pretty harsh statement on behalf of the White House. It said this, quote, "The United States stands in solidarity with its closest ally, the United Kingdom. The United States shares the United Kingdom's decision to expel Russian diplomats as a just response. The latest action by Russia fits into a pattern of behavior in which Russia disregards the international rules-based order, undermines the sovereignty and security of countries worldwide, and attempts to subvert and discredit Western democratic institutions and processes. The United States is working together with our allies and partners to ensure that this kind of abhorrent attack does not happen again."
Whoa.
That was Sarah Sanders.
Yeah, and if that was 3 months ago, she would have been saying, well, I think there's wrongdoings on all sides. We don't know all the details yet. Yeah. And they would have been sweeping it under the rug to try to save their relationship with Russia.
Totally.
So I'm actually impressed with this statement. And not only is it condemning Russia, but it's saying that they're interfering with our democratic processes.
Yeah. I love that.
Which is kind of an admission of they're meddling in our elections.
It is, yeah. But they have to, like we'll talk about, I just think they have to do that. Now they're going to try to play the right side all the time and say, oh yeah, we agree, yeah, Russia's bad, and it's just like
I think
no one's
progress, right?
Well, not progress, covering up their ass as they're falling
Both.
and actually getting.
Muller's still gonna go after them, right?
Well, here's what happened. I mean, it doesn't. You can just because he's mad at Russia now doesn't mean he didn't commit a bunch of crimes.
Yeah,
right.
But early Thursday, Trump administration put sanctions on Russia. Basically, he took Mueller's indictment of 13 Russians and 3 Russian entities and copied and pasted it into a sanctions report. Yeah. So these aren't the sanctions that they voted on in last year that still haven't been imposed.
Right.
These are brand new sanctions based on Robert Mueller's findings. Okay.
It's crazy. It is frustrating, Jordan. I agree with you on that. That's like...
Well, I'm... Sorry.
No, he's just basically, they are covering their asses. It's like, it's a step in the right direction, but it's also like, I don't expect them to be so forthcoming so immediately. Like, the closer we get to them, like, being, prosecuted for this there's going to be stages of grief for them where they're going to have to accept it eventually. And then finally it's like, all right, I'm going to jail.
Well, I mean, we sanctioned or we indicted these Russians. These are safe for Trump to sanction because it wasn't Trump's initial doing.
Oh,
right.
So it helps him. Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying anything that him and his administration can get on board with now in the public eye, that's going to make it look like he's not extremely corrupt and advocating for Russian and
having it not be his fault at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
In Putin's eyes.
Exactly.
Because Putin's going to blame Mueller for this, not Trump.
So it'd be easier if he denied it.
So,
or not denied it. So if they're just saying, yeah, you're right, Russia is bad, that's an awfully convenient position
you're
to
right,
just start to hold.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, so these sanctions, they freeze assets of those agents and prevent Americans from engaging in business with them. These are the first sanctions enacted since Congress passed the sanctions bill last year. So he sanctioned the guys Mueller indicted, like I said. But no banks, no oligarchs. I suppose it's a step toward acknowledging Russian interference in the elections, but in the hunt for Russians, Mueller is winning.
Exactly.
Washington Post reported that the Treasury Secretary alerted the public that Russians have been targeting our energy grid with malware. What I wonder is, does Trump's sanctioning of the Russians and Russian entities that Mueller indicted mean that Trump is now validating the indictment? Is Trump saying the Russians meddled in our elections? Because the indictment details that they meddled in the elections and that they were doing it for Trump.
Yeah.
And now he's using that indictment to put these sanctions down.
Is he turning himself in slowly?
I think that these sanctions fly in the face of the House Majority report too, ending the Russia probe.
Yeah,
they kind of, we're like, no, we're done. There's nothing.
Yeah,
but we're going to sanction these guys that Mueller just nabbed.
Yes, dude. At the end of all this, Trump is just going to be in a ball crying like, Putin is so mean. I didn't want to do any of it. He just made me.
Oh yeah.
He's. I don't know. We'll see. But maybe he'll go to a Putin tea party and I'll be happy.
Oh.
We learned Thursday that Mueller had subpoenaed Trump. And the Trump Organization.
Yes.
Sometime in the last few weeks, you guys. He asked for documents, but much of the subpoena is not known. I believe, as do other legal experts, and I'm not a legal expert, I believe, and some legal experts believe, that he subpoenaed Trump because Trump failed to hand over something in the voluntary dump. And I'm guessing, but I think it has to do with that second Trump Tower in Moscow.
Oh.
He was trying to cobble together a deal with a sanctioned Russian bank and a Cypriot shell company. Cypriot means from Cyprus.
Thank you.
I just,
Yeah, I was like, what?
Cypriot. You guys don't know what Cypriot means?
Is that our word of the week?
Yes, Cypriot.
Cypriot.
And Felix Sater was in on it, and Cohen. And Felix Sater stabbed a guy in the face with the broken stem of a margarita glass one
That's
time?
not cool.
Oh my God.
In the 90s? Yeah. He
Not
went to jail.
kosher at all.
Did the guy deserve it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Does anyone?
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's like a judge and jury kind of punishment.
So we learned about this from the Minority Report and the book on Russian roulette. So look for those bonus episodes. So there's lots on this subpoena. Is it what prompted the shutdown of the House Intelligence Committee? Like maybe he was subpoenaed a couple weeks ago. Like it seems like the last couple weeks things have been going pretty chaotic in the White House.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I do feel like it would be easier to keep tabs on covering your asses in one investigation than two. So
point.
so if the House one is also open, then they also have to be covering their tracks there.
And then there's three. There's the Senate, and then they have the House Judiciary and the Senate Judiciary
Right.
too. There's a lot of investigations going on. So
Yeah, that's true.
And we have our own.
you're so funny. Anyway, the leak makes it harder for Trump to fire Mueller or Sessions, I think.
Yeah.
He's got everything he's asking for and waiting to see what Trump refuses to hand over, like I said. That's kind of how I think this game is. Because, Mueller said, give me all your stuff, and Trump gave him a bunch of stuff. And Mueller's realizing stuff is missing.
Yeah.
And so he's subpoenaing him and saying, give it all to me. And if he doesn't, he's got him on obstruction.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
I wonder if it's something related to UAE and just the expansion of his probe as well, even.
I would imagine so, yeah. That would make sense.
It could. I mean, it is the Trump organization. So it's not just Papa Trump. It's
everything. Ivanka.
Yeah.
It's all of it.
It's Trumpette and, all of them. The Department of Homeland Security issued a terrifying warning Thursday that Russian state hackers had a foothold now in our energy grid and our nuclear power plants.
So scary.
They have the ability to manipulate and shut down our power.
How do we podcast if the Russians... What if Putin wants to shut us down?
We'll get a generator, man.
Yeah, there we go.
Be in a bomb shelter.
And
so
candles.
subscribe so we can get a generator, guys.
Oh God!
And tinfoil hats.
Maybe those preppers are right, but it's
Yeah.
they were for the wrong reasons. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
That's usually what religion is, right?
Yeah.
it was the Republicans that made it happen.
We'll add a tier of subscriber as a portable bunker.
Oh,
Nice, yeah, for $1 million.
Only patrons, yeah.
Not surprisingly, Russian cyber attacks have surged since Trump took office. No one's doing anything about it. We haven't spent any money to stop it, so, why not? Finally, on Thursday night, 6 sources said that McMaster was going to be fired. Now, he's the national security advisor that took over for Flynn when Flynn was fired. As we know, Flynn has pled guilty. He's cooperating with the Mueller investigation. Interestingly, this was right after McMaster made some very tough statements against Russia, much like Tillerson did. So Tillerson makes a bunch of angry statements against Russia, and then he's out. And then McMaster makes a bunch of tough statements on Russia, and then we hear from like 6 different news agencies and 10 different sources inside the White House that he was going to be fired. But he wasn't, and it hasn't as of today. As of the recording of this, he's still not fired, and Trump's like, I'm not going to fire him. Why do you think I'm going to fire him? And it's like, because that's what you do, and everyone said so. So I don't know. Everyone started connecting the dots, but the fact remains the Trump White House lied about the timing of the firing of Tillerson. So interesting. So they're trying to cover something up.
Oh, yeah.
And Vanessa Trump filed for divorce from Donald Trump Jr.
Yes.
Lovely.
Why is this relevant to the Mueller investigation? Well, because she hired a criminal defense attorney to help her.
Oh, shit.
Even though the divorce was filed as uncontested.
Yes.
So a lot of people are speculating that since Mueller subpoenaed the Trump organization, perhaps they need a criminal defense lawyer to help them split their assets and protect them from the asset forfeiture clause that appears in all of Mueller's indictments.
Which is smart. Well done.
No, it's actually against the law.
Well, yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb legally, but like as far as criminals go, yeah, I see where they're going with that one.
Good try.
It's
maybe.
really stupid, and maybe that's what the criminal defense attorney is for. Because he's been cheating on her, and he's a dick anyway. And maybe
He's so not gamey. I don't understand how he gets
Seriously.
girls.
money. So maybe
That's right.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
So maybe she legit wants to divorce him, and doesn't want to go broke from the investigation, but also doesn't want to break the law. It's called conveyance, like wrongful conveyance or something, where you break up to hide assets.
Okay. So either way, it's still shady.
But it might not be. She might legit want to leave.
Oh, okay. I guess, yeah, in that case, it wouldn't be shady.
And so she's probably like, how do I do this without making it look like I'm trying to hide shit? So that's why she's got a criminal defense attorney.
The timing is just so, I guess it's now or never, right?
Yeah, well, if they're legitimately getting a divorce, no wife would leave, or I wouldn't think would leave their husband in the thick of, some sort of turmoil for PR reasons. Usually they'd stay with them just as a solid, unless something really bad happened.
If he was a cheater and he's going to jail for 1 million years,
exactly,
he'd be out.
If he's actually, she must believe that he's actually going to get in trouble and the shit's coming down, or
that's
else
what
she
I
wouldn't
hope.
Get out right now.
Or what if she's working with him, like you guys were saying earlier? That would be
I didn't even
more
think about
like
that.
them.
That makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. But then happened, what happened next after Thursday is Friday.
And Saturday comes afterwards. You guys remember that Friday song, Rebecca Black? Sorry.
Oh, Friday. It was a quiet day. Not one single news story on the Mueller investigation. It would have been the first day since we started this podcast that a full day would go by without Mueller news. But then, at 10 p.m., as if he didn't want to break the streak, Attorney General Jeff Sessions fired the FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe 48 hours before he would have retired with a full pension after over 20 years of service.
Brutal.
I'm going to go over this later in the show. But remember, McCabe is one of the Comey Five. I've been talking about the Comey Five over and over and over again on this show. And I want everyone to watch that. Since the beginning, I've been going over this. The Comey Five are Baker, Rybicki, Gaddis, Bowditch, and McCabe.
McCabe was the Tito of the Comey Five.
Was he the Tito?
Yeah,
I think you're right. I thought it was more of the Germain, but
that's fair.
Cool.
Yeah.
Saturday, The Guardian and The New York Times both dropped stories that Cambridge Analytica harvested private information from the Facebook profiles of over 50 million American users, according to the former Cambridge employees. Cambridge Analytica was hired by Steve Bannon and the Mercers, those rich people who abandoned him after he freaked out, as one of the data management companies for Trump's 2016 campaign, one of three managed by Jared Kushner. So they got the Facebook data using an outsider saying it was for academic purposes, and Facebook handed it over.
Wow.
I have a picture of Mercer and his daughter. These are the people who paid $15 million for the project, and I don't know. I'll put the picture on the newsletter. Just look at them. The Hill reported shortly after that Massachusetts is launching an investigation into Trump accessing private Facebook data. So that happened. And on that little bit of good news, we'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Mueller, She Wrote. We love our patrons, but you don't have to be a patron to have access to our swag. Head over to MuellerSheWrote.com and click on Shop, and you'll find your men's and ladies' shirts and reusable totes made from 100% recycled material. Remember, some of our proceeds are donated to progressive candidates to help flip Congress blue in November so we can reopen the congressional investigation into Russian collusion and impeach Trump. All shipping is free in the United States because you're awesome. Thank you so much for all of your support. All right, welcome back. Time for Hot Notes.
Woo.
I can't get over that now. I have to just call everything a hot note.
I like it, yeah.
This week, Jaleesa is going to talk about Dan Scavino, right?
Yes.
All right, take it away, Jaleesa.
Yeah, so Daniel Scavino, he is an interesting character in all of this because when he was just a teenager in 1990, he was working for Trump's Country Club in Westchester and kind of working for the restaurant too. And at 14 years old, he was chosen to be Trump's caddy. So I know, it's kind of cute.
A love story.
Yeah, he really admired Trump. He talked in this interview with CNN about a time when he recalled Trump coming down in his, private jet or helicopter, one of those, fancy things. And Trump, played a game of basketball with him at the country club. And he was just like, wow, this guy is, building New York. And he came to play with us. And, yeah, he really looks up to Trump.
Misguided youth.
Absolutely.
To look up to him.
Absolutely. So he ended up working for Trump's Country Club for a long time throughout college. And in 1998, he graduated from State University of New York with a degree in communications. And he spent some time working for other companies as well, like Coca-Cola. But eventually, he was promoted to general manager of Trump's National Golf Club in Westchester. So he was so valuable to Trump that he was brought on in 2015 to work for the Trump presidential campaign. So a year later, he was promoted to director of social media for the campaign. And for those 18 months, he was pretty much on the campaign trail, traveling with Trump and managing his social media platforms, such as Twitter. He's one of the few people, that have access to that.
So we can thank him for some of the tweets?
You know what it is? People say there's no actual way to tell how many tweets are Trump's and how many's are Scavino's. But what they say is if it's late at night, that's likely Trump's tweets. And if there's misspellings, it's also likely Trump. So
there was one that just came out. I'll go over later that I'm sure was Scavino.
Okay. Very nice.
We'll talk about it when you're done.
Very nice. So in July of 2016, Scavino received backlash when Trump's Twitter account posted an image of Hillary Clinton with the text in the shape of the Star of David, calling her the most corrupt candidate ever. So
Jesus, what does that mean? What is that? What are they even trying to get at?
Exactly. That was what people were trying to figure out. So the image was originally posted on an anti-Semitic white supremacist account. And the Trump campaign and Scavino told reporters that they didn't know where the picture originated from, and the star, to them at least, was intended to resemble a sheriff badge, not a Star of David.
Really? Because everyone's seen those 6-pointed sheriff badges. Let me double check that right now.
If you're doing a presidential campaign, what does a sheriff badge have to do with? Unless we're talking about Arpaio or Arpaio, whatever his name is, that he pardoned.
And if anyone is in bed with Israel, it is Trump and not Hillary Clinton.
Exactly.
But then again, they also are as well.
It's true. I mean, they're all
Israel's powerful.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have another episode about that.
Yeah, maybe.
But in April 2017, Scavino was accused of violating the Hatch Act after tweeting from his personal Twitter account calling for the defeat of Congressman Justin Amash. So the Office of Special Counsel then informed Scavino that his tweet had indeed violated the Hatch Act and was warned that future violations could result in further action. So, a slap on the wrist.
Pretty much.
Basically, on Wednesday, the Senate Judiciary Committee's ranking Democrat requested interviews with Scavino as part of the panel's probe into Russia's election meddling, and Senator Dianne Feinstein wrote to Scavino requesting his assistance with their investigation. And she wrote, "Given your role in the campaign, we believe you have information that would assist the committee in its investigation." And she doesn't just want to talk about what happened during the election. She wants to know everything that Trump has been up to since he's been in office. So she also wrote, "The media has reported that you are a constant presence at Trump's side and an omnipresent in the West Wing, which would place you at key events of interest to the committee in its investigation of Russia interference in the 2016 election and possible obstruction of justice." So that's her thing. She wants to get Trump for, anything he could have done involving the Comey firing and Flynn and all that good stuff. Even though the Congress shut down their investigation, it seems like their focus is pretty much everything that could have happened after the collusion factor. And as we know, 4 members of the U.S.
Well, the Senate didn't shut down their investigation.
The Congress. I'm sorry, the House. The House Congress. Yeah, I forget. They're a whole thing.
Congress is both. And
yes.
Then the House has theirs and the Senate has theirs. The House quit and the Senate is still going.
Yeah. I got to brush up on my Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. I'm just a bill.
Yes. Oh, I love it. So Congress wrapped up their probe, hashtag no collusion. Scavino is just one of the guys that was requested in the committee through the letters to get information. And they want everything. They want anything related to the FBI's investigation into the election. They want any communications he may have had with Russia or any Russian nationalists. And they want any details involving Trump's firing of Flynn and Comey. So, like I said, they're looking into everything. And he's pretty loyal to Trump. So I don't know if he's going to be anyone to sing or whatever, but I feel like he's got to have something that they can legally get a hold of.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for that.
For sure.
For your hat note.
Mm-hmm.
He also comes up in the Minority Report, so check out that mini-sode if you're a patron. Jordan, you're going to go over the House Intel Committee prematurely shutting down the Russia investigation, yeah?
Yes, and Adam Schiff's statement in response to it specifically. So, as we all know, on Monday, March 12th, the House majority announced that it was terminating the Russia investigation. And at first, for some reason, when this news hit, it didn't hit me as hard as it did when I was preparing for this segment, actually reading in detail Adam Schiff's response, because it's just so it's such a low point. He uses that verbiage, and I think that's a really good way to describe it. It's a complete low point. It feels discouraging. Not to say that it wasn't predictable. That's the thing that I kind of think helps me cope with it, is this was a very predictable thing. It's not like it's indicative of...
They weren't doing anything anyway.
Yeah,
they were being blocked at every turn.
Exactly,
so.
yeah. And that's, so, yeah, just going into how Adam Schiff responded, essentially the overall message was, it's now up to others to carry the torch, essentially, of this investigation.
We'll do it, Adam, we're doing it for you.
I thought this was a good quote. He said, basically, other people's role now, like Mueller in the Senate and other investigatory entities, their role will be to determine the full extent of Russian interference in our election, the role of U.S. persons connected to the Trump campaign in that intervention, possible efforts to obstruct the investigation by the president, and most importantly, what needs to be done to protect the country going forward. And it's really powerful to think that our representatives are failing us that badly. It's an entire House of Representatives, literally, and basically them shutting this down was them turning their backs on us as American people. Schiff talks in this response about how it's not Robert Mueller's job to tell the American people what's happened. It's his job to investigate it and do his due diligence and coming to the correct conclusion. And it's the House of Representatives and it's the senators and the president, not the president because he's the object of this investigation, but it's Congress's job to tell us. And them shutting this down is them turning their backs on the people that voted them in.
But we still have the Senate.
It's just evidence that they are also part of the conspiracy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you get the sense from Schiff, too, that they basically had two options: to be dragged through this farce of a quote-unquote investigation by the GOP. That was not... They weren't going and they weren't subpoenaing documents that they really needed to get down to the bottom of leads they were getting. They weren't, getting phone records. They weren't getting emails.
Asking follow-up questions.
Exactly.
For example, when Cohen went to Prague, they asked him, Cohen, did you go to Prague? And he went, nope. And they go, okay, we believe you. and the Democrats are like, well, can we look at travel documents or phone? Can we do a phone dump? Can we look at his credit card history? No, we believe him. That's it.
The honor policy.
Yeah. And it's in the beginning of the investigation, he said the questions were asked by minority leadership. Are we even going to be able to do this investigation when the stakes are so high? It almost inhibits us from doing this investigation thoroughly. They all had their doubts going into it, and it turns out that their doubts were valid. And no, it's not possible for them to do this investigation. And that's where this idea, I think, of a constitutional crisis thing kind of almost comes up again. It's like the things that we have in place are not allowing for us to accurately and actively get down to the bottom of things, and that's scary, and it's really sad. And
I have a little more faith in the Senate Intel Committee.
For sure.
And then I have every faith in Mueller.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you said, it's not Mueller's job to tell us, but I think we'll find out.
Yep. Yeah. It is the president that the entire Congress and the president are unreliable.
It's the majority, and it's the majority. It's not the entire Congress.
You're right. You're right. The majority.
It's the Republicans. And it's not even all of them.
Yeah.
It's not even all the Republicans.
Less of them.
And I hope they keep jumping ship.
Absolutely. But that wraps it up. Just a sad note from Adam Schiff, and thank you, Adam Schiff, for all the work that you did and everybody on that committee.
Yes.
That was not the GOP resistance. You are noble warriors that will go down in history as people that I think tried to do the right thing.
And you're in the calendar.
He will definitely go down in the sexy justice calendar.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You're absolutely correct on that. So thank you very much for that. It's
yes, thank you.
Eye-opener of a... Thanks for bringing us down, man.
I know. Fucking depressing.
I know. As I mentioned earlier, and I'm about to get mad too, because Jeff Sessions, who technically recused himself from all things Russia-related and all things connected to the Hillary email investigation, that was part of his recusal. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I did not.
Yeah, he's not allowed to do anything in the Hillary email investigation either. He fired the FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe 48 hours before he would have retired with a full pension after over 20 years of service. This happened late Friday night. I was just getting ready to go on stage, and what?
Oh, wow.
Sessions cites the reason for his dismissal as an agreement with the findings of the Inspector General. within the FBI, stating that that McCabe allowed 2 journalists from the Wall Street Journal to speak to FBI agents about the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. And you're not allowed to talk about investigations that are underway, even though they completely released all the Strzok and Page texts to the public while that investigation was underway. But whatever, they aren't subject to the same rules. And then he showed what's called a lack of candor in interviews with the IG and the Congress. We have yet to see the IG report because Sessions fired McCabe before it was released. The GOP has also refused to release the McCabe testimony transcripts. So we can't see what he even lied about. McCabe had a scathing response, which we will have a link to in my show notes for the newsletter that our patrons get. But here are some of the highlights. Quote, "For the last year and a half, my family and I have been the targets of an unrelenting assault on our reputation and my service to this country." He explains that the OIG investigation focused on the information he shared properly with the reporter while legal counsel was present and with the public affairs officer, as he has authority to do. He says he answered their questions truthfully. He said when he thought his answers were misunderstood or unclear, he contacted investigators to add and supplement the record. Quote, "Here's the reality. I am being singled out and treated this way because of the role I played, the actions I took, and the events I witnessed in the aftermath of the firing of James Comey," unquote. He goes on to say, quote, "The release of this report was accelerated only after my testimony to the House Intelligence Committee revealed that I would corroborate former Director Comey's accounts of his discussions with the president," unquote. Take a listen to this clip of me making the same assertion. This is from episode 8, 3 months ago, when McCabe was testifying. On Tuesday, McCabe, he's the deputy director of the FBI, testified before the House Intelligence Committee behind closed doors. Chuck Grassley called for McCabe to be fired. He was testified 2 days for 17 hours. And I think this is part of the effort to discredit the FBI.
Yeah. McCabe's getting tired too, huh? He's worn out.
And it didn't work because the only couple things that were if the Republicans had gotten anything on him, they'd have leaked it. But the only things that came out of that meeting that we've heard so far is that he corroborated Comey's story that he told him about Trump's loyalty ask after it happened. Because Comey told 5 or 6 senior officials at the FBI, because Comey's not an idiot. Comey's my homie. Now, McCabe goes on to say, quote, "The OIG's focus on me in this report became part of an unprecedented effort by the administration, driven by the president himself, to remove me from my position and destroy my reputation, and possibly strip me of a pension that I worked 21 years to earn. This will not erase the important work I was privileged to be part of, the results of which will in the end be revealed for the country to see," unquote. Mm-hmm. In an interview, McCabe said, "The idea that I was dishonest is just wrong. This is part of an effort to discredit me as a witness in the Mueller investigation." Mm-hmm. Trump's lawyer, Droopy Dog Dowd, also released a statement. Have you seen his face? I shouldn't make fun of people's looks, but if they're horrible people, if they're ugly on the inside.
Yeah, then I think it's fair game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
more a comment on his soul.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I don't want to see him make out in public.
Right, I bet his soul is droopy too.
He's just gross. And and he said this as if to prove the point that McCabe is making about this being really more about an attack on the Mueller probe. Dowd goes, quote, "I pray acting AG Rosenstein will follow the brilliant and courageous example of the FBI OPR and AG Sessions and bring an end to alleged Russia collusion investigation manufactured by McCabe's boss, Jim Comey, based on a fraudulent and corrupt dossier," unquote. First, your bitch boy Nunez's memo said the investigation was kicked off by Papadopoulos, not the dossier, so you might want to read your own shit. And the dossier has only been corroborated, and none of it has been refuted, so maybe you should wait like an hour before you call for the end of the Mueller investigation, when we know that's why McCabe was removed in the first place. Like, maybe give it some time so, like, even idiots don't even realize it. Former CIA Director John Brennan had the best tweet, I think. He said, quote, "When the full extent of your venality, moral turpitude, and political corruption becomes known, you will take your rightful place as a disgraced demagogue in the dustbin of history. You may scapegoat Andy McCabe, but you will not destroy America. America will triumph over you," unquote.
At least we both love America.
Epic.
fucking epic tweet, right? Like, how'd you get that in the right number of characters? Let's see. What else do I have here? He was responding to Trump's tweet. Here was Trump's tweet. And I think this was Scavino. Andrew McCabe fired. A great day for the hardworking men and women of the FBI. A great day for democracy. Sanctimonious James Comey was his boss and made McCabe look like a choir boy. He knew all about the lies and corruption going on at the highest levels of the FBI. Dude, sanctimonious and choir boy, that sounds like Scavino to me.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Trump
Too
would
deep
never
a reference for
right? Yeah. like Trump doesn't know what a choir boy is. He was a lacrosse dick or, whatever. Like, he didn't do anything with arts.
Seriously.
Yeah, he's a bully.
Oh, God.
Man, this week's heavy.
It is. And he knew all about, the lies and corruption going on at the highest levels of the FBI. Whatever. And it just sounds like Scavino to me. Comey tweeted, Mr. President, the American people will hear my story very soon, and they can judge for themselves who is honorable and who is not.
Nice.
So
sexy.
Even if this is totally legit, okay, let's say McCabe lied, okay, it doesn't matter. It can't appear that way because the president continues to politicize it. Trump has wanted him gone since Trump fired Comey.
Right.
Then, lo and behold, there's an IG investigation into McCabe. Andrew McCabe, if you're listening, it's probably not the same as a pension, but you've earned a spot in our sexy justice calendar. You're an American hero to us. History will be kind to you, sir. And if things don't work out with your wife, email at us at MuellerSheWrote.com.
JulisaJohnsonComedy@gmail.com.
All right, you guys, that's Hot Notes. We'll be right back. It costs a lot to make a podcast. In addition to the hours of research and scripting, there's editing, producing, equipment upgrades, hosting fees, web design, shipping, subscriber management fees. It can really add up, you guys. So that's where you come in. Our patrons not only help us make this podcast, but they help us continually improve the quality and content. You can support women in podcasting and help make our show better. And in return, you'll get exclusive content, a newsletter, bonus episodes, and thank you gifts. Please consider donating. Even just $1 a month helps tremendously. Visit MuellerSheWrote.com and click subscribe today. And thanks for listening. All right, it's time for the Fantasy Indictment League. All right, thanks to the Minority Report and the new book, Russian Roulette, I have a ton of people to add this week.
Nice.
All right, you guys ready? I'm just going to run down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to run it down. VTB Bank, IC Expert, Fertosh, that's a Manafort partner. Brad Zaxon, that's a Manafort associate. Yevgeny Prigozhin, that's Putin's chef.
Nice.
Torsion, Priebus. No, not Priebus. He's the mole.
Yeah.
Kellyanne Conway. Tara Dahl, she's a diplomatic foreign outreach for the Trump campaign. Scavino, we just went over him. Keith Kellogg, he was a foreign policy advisor. Joseph Schmitz, he was a foreign policy advisor. Marshall Billingsley, transition team, he knows about Flynn's contacts. Paul Erickson with the NRA. Maria Butina, the NRA, Torsen's Gal Friday. Johnny Yenison, he's with the NRA. Sergei Milyan, Veselnitskaya. Roman Benyaminov, he has knowledge of the June meeting. Bijan Kian, he paid Flynn to investigate Gulen. Remember Gulen? That was the guy he wanted him to kidnap. Gave him $500,000. John
Fatala.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. John Zaboskin, he disseminated Hillary Rodham Clinton's emails. That was his job. Alan Garten, he was a lawyer for the Trump org. And Alan Weisselberg, he's the CFO of the Trump org. Deutsche Bank, Cambridge Analytica, Darren Blanton, he's a social media guy for the transition team. John Ladanisi, he's social media for Trump campaign too. Aaron Nevins, Ron, Florida Political Ops, he's the guy who got the emails back and forth from Guccifer. Kushner Companies, and Observer Media. Bayrock Group, that's a Seder and Tawfiq Arif joint. Peter Smith, he's a dark web guy associated with the Trump campaign soliciting Russians to get Hillary Clinton emails. Wow. KLS Research, that's Peter Smith. Colt Research, that's Darren Blanton's company. VizSense and White Canvas Group, that's Flynn and Iodenisi. Russian American Chamber of Commerce, that's Milyan's group. The DMP International, that's Manafort's joint. Sendine, that's the host that Trump Network used to communicate with Alpha Bank.
Yeah.
They're the hosts. Bridges LLC, that's the Butina and Erickson shell company. Right to Bear Arms is Torsion and Butina's shell company. And ACU Strategic Partners, that's Copson and Flynn. Those are the guys who wanted to do the Marshall Plan. Wow. That is who I'm adding this week.
So everyone but the janitor of Trump Tower, basically.
He was probably a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Now, also, guys, there are 7 new sealed indictments on the docket in D.C. 7 new sealed indictments. That sounds biblical. 7 sealed indictments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, you guys, that's the new fantasy team. But are you ready for sabotage?
Yeah.
All right. You probably already know what it is. McCabe has memorandums. He wrote memos just like Comey did, memorializing his conversations with the president.
I didn't know that.
And he's given them to Mueller.
Ooh.
These documents could support obstruction. So if you remember, the day after Trump fired Comey, he called McCabe to find out how Comey got to fly home on an FBI plane after he'd been fired. Why is he taking an FBI plane? And he's like, I would have let him anyway. And Trump said, why don't you ask your wife how it feels to be a loser? That's what he said to him.
What the fuck?
A reference to a failed campaign run she made in 2015. And remember, Hillary's people, like the DNC, donated to her campaign? Hundreds of thousands of dollars from Hillary. Right, just from Hillary. Like, she just handed it to him. She made it rain on her. Also asked McCabe how he voted in 2016. And he's been after him ever since. Well, McCabe and Comey both have memos. And Lordy, I hope there are tapes. So let's go. Did you hear? There might be tapes.
No, I did not hear that.
Oh, yeah. It's
like a wiretapping kind of situation, or
tapes, just tapes of the Comey conversations.
Okay.
I saw that is one of the things that they were fairly certain they didn't turn over.
Yeah, listen to the mini-sode. It's in the Minority Report. It's going to be good.
Ooh.
Let's go to this week's questions and comments, you guys. Brian Basics gave us 5 stars, and he says, quote, back episodes are worth pursuing for newcomers. There's an insurmountable amount of detail in this crazy story, and these folks have found a way to add something new to a very broad discussion in an entertaining and informative way. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
At T Trillion asks about the DT Jr. divorce. Wouldn't any Trump have a prenup, or is that why people are assuming they're hiding assets? If that is what they're trying, is that a crime? Who do they think they're fooling? Also, when you come to D.C., will you have a meetup, or is that illegal? First, awesome name. I'm a huge Douglas Adams fan, so yay for Trillion. Yes, that every Trump probably does have a prenup. There is a fraudulent transfer law that prohibits people from intentionally transferring assets to avoid a creditor. There's legal ways to do it, I'm sure. I'm not a lawyer, but I would assume their new criminal defense attorney will help them navigate that. We talked about this earlier.
Right.
If they break the law, Mueller will get his asset forfeiture. But one way or the other. So, at Citizen Dane said, Schiff status report hinted at trying to continue the investigation anyway. Does that hinge entirely on retaking the House? Is there anything the minority can do between now and January? Well, Swalls is trying to set up an independent commission, like the 9/11 Commission, to continue the work because it's too partisan, he said, in the Intel Committee, House Intel Committee. But they need 22 Republicans, and they only have 2. So it's not likely. I don't think they can unilaterally continue their investigation because of the rules of the committee. So I think the investigation will stall until we flip the House. Mueller marches on, though, so... And we still have the Senate for now.
Yes.
At Yeagerman wants to know what mechanisms may be in place to facilitate the ongoing integrity of the investigation should Mueller be fired. Are there already sealed indictments? Parallel collaboration with state AGs? Well, yes. Well, there's 7 sealed indictments right now on the docket. I don't know who they are. 3 of they might be Russians because we're still waiting for the other Russian indictments to come out. But check out this recent thread by Greg Olin on Twitter. He says, quote, the minute Sessions is fired, Mueller's contingency plan goes into effect. He's known since literally day one that Trump wanted to fire him. One of the obstruction charges is about Trump wanting to fire him. Do you really think Bobby Three Sticks isn't ready?
Right.
So I'm very comforted by the fact that he has thought every possible scenario out.
He's had to. This is what he does.
Yep. At BigFrog619 says, what is your prediction about the endgame? I believe there will be the revelation that Trump is heavily in debt to Russia. Well, there's 3 lanes here, right? Obstruction, collusion, and money laundering, tax fraud. I think the recent subpoena of Trump Properties, Trump organization, indicates Trump has failed to hand over documents voluntarily, so that results in the ultimate obstruction. For collusion, the ties between the Trump campaign and the hacking and subsequent dissemination of HRC emails will show conspiracy.
It has to be conspiracy, right? Because collusion is not illegal.
Right.
Correct. Conspiracy against the United States. And then there will be a zillion charges in tax evasion and money laundering with all sorts of Russians and the United Arab Emirates, Ibiza, shell companies. At Poop Weasel, that's my favorite, asks what info Mueller is seeking through the subpoena of the Trump organization. As I said, I think he's seeking what Trump failed to turn over in the voluntary request. I think mostly it's about the Trump Tower Moscow, but it could really be about anything Mueller has evidence of that Trump didn't hand over. Maybe his taxes.
Yeah, or, I mean, I imagine anywhere that company is, there's potential things to discover.
Yeah, it's got to be so endless.
Yeah.
At JC Doulos1 asked, with the House Intel Committee shutting down the investigation, can you explain the differences with these committees? Are there any ramifications, and can they prosecute people? There's 4 congressional committees that are looking into this. There's the House Intelligence, there's the House Judiciary, there's the Senate Intelligence, and the Senate Judiciary. None of them have prosecutorial powers. They're there to investigate and divulge to the public what's going on. Are there any ramifications? Can they prosecute people? The congressional committees don't have prosecutorial power. Mueller has prosecutorial power. The Congress, as Jordan was saying earlier, is just there to kind of investigate and tell the public, protect the public, and let the public know. That's not what Mueller does. Mueller keeps everything a secret and prosecutes and indicts people.
Yeah.
So that's the difference there. At Seguria said, quote, you could do 2 hours a day and we'd be glued to our headphones.
Aww.
That's very sweet.
That is.
At Nicholas Chatham says, quote, sound upgrade is awesome, and can you point me out to where you covered Obama's role in all this? This attack happened under his watch. No? Yes, I can. We'll cover that in depth in our book report.
I was going to say, in the chapter that I read.
Very nice.
There's a lot of places.
I imagine,
There's a lot of places Obama kind of missed the boat. On Russia. He was trying to be friendly with them, but he was also he
needed their help in Iran, Syria,
he needed 3 serious things from them that he was getting, and he didn't want to give those up. And so you got to let him make those decisions because he's smarter than me.
Fucking Obama. I wish we could just throw him in the calendar just because he is
on
so
the back
sexy.
or something, like a little bonus flap.
Bonus flap. Matthew Miner on Facebook says he loves our podcast more than he loves bacon.
Oh my god!
Whoa. What?
That is amazing.
At Sorrel Woods says, quote, I actually look forward to my Monday hour on the elliptical at the gym now thanks to these weekly podcasts. I wish these women all lived next door to me. I'd invite them to come hang out on the porch.
The porch and have iced tea.
In a rocking chair?
Yes.
I want to do that.
I love it.
At Stephen Lacey, who goes by Stephen hates Nazis more than Johnny hates jazz, says, quote, if you want to listen to a smart, informative, and deliciously funny podcast that does a deep dive on the Mueller investigation, hosted by 3 awesome, amazing women, do yourselves a favor and check this one out. Stat. You won't be disappointed. That's like a real pro review.
That's so
there.
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You like review people for a living? Because that's pro job right there, man. That's like, you have like a high Yelp standing, I bet.
Very nice.
That's an amazing review.
Yeah.
At Hokey Horn, Kimberly Phillips, she's an attorney friend of mine. She says, quote, I'm not a federal government employee, but can people be fired at will? I thought that was the whole get for the government job, was that you couldn't just be fired.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. There's a process that you have to go through for different offenses. And it usually goes through a verbal warning, and then a verbal reprimand, and then an admonishment, and then a suspension, and then a second suspension, and then a last chance contract, and then you can appeal, and then you can be fired.
Wow.
I had somebody who worked for me punch a hole through a wall and expose himself to a female. And it took a year to fire him.
Louis C.K. worked for you?
So yeah, he's a government employee, totally.
Of course it takes that long.
Bureaucracy,
man.
But there are offenses that are immediately terminable. And apparently in the FBI, lying is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
I have a hard time believing this because, I don't know, it just feels like, really? Like, I thought you had to punch a guy in the face with a margarita stem glass or something. Like, I can't believe.
Or expose yourself. That seems like it should make the list of
You'd
things.
think.
Yeah.
It was just in texts, though, so it wasn't live, so it didn't count. It wasn't as egregious,
Okay.
I guess.
I was imagining a monster just streaking through like a government building.
Okay, that paints a picture, yeah.
So, at Matt9303 asked if the firing of McCabe and the news that Cambridge Analytica stole personal information was leaked in retaliation. So he's basically asking, did the FBI leak that Cambridge Analytica $50 million Facebook dump in retaliation for McCabe being fired?
Right.
I don't think so. I think that came from employees of Cambridge Analytica and Facebook. I don't think it came from the FBI. So.
Yeah. Also, just a side note on the firing, too. Him doing it that late at night, I feel, was really a move to try to not make it a huge
news,
publicity. Yeah.
Friday at 10?
Because it's shitty. It's just, it's like, obviously he served our country for so long. I can't imagine Sessions wanted to do that. We talked about this to each other before, after we recorded last week's episode and before this one, just... That's a shitty position for Sessions to be in, kind of, but he kind of has to be in it. He has to do it, or he could fire Sessions for not firing him.
Yeah.
I hate
That's
defending Jeff Sessions.
I know.
At FauxProBot wants to know who we would cast in the movie version of the Mueller investigation.
As Mueller?
Wait. We love this question. So please tweet at us at Mueller She Wrote with your suggestions and use the hashtag Mueller Movie. It's Mueller. And we'll reveal our favorites next episode.
Yeah, so wait, who are we casting? Is this for Mueller himself? Is this
everyone?
For everyone.
The Mueller movie.
Okay, Melissa McCarthy.
It's going to happen,
be Sean
too, is the best
Spicer.
thing.
Can we please get her on the phone?
Ooh.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, so who would play Trump? Who would play Mueller? Who would play Manafort? Who would play Gates? Who would play...
All right, Leonardo DiCaprio has got to get in on this on some
We'll
level.
figure it out.
Yeah, I'll vote 1,000 times.
I see him as a DTJ kind of person.
Oh, everyone from SNL.
He would have
has
to
a
have
shot.
he'd have to have like prosthetic gums installed. So at Mueller She Wrote on Twitter, hashtag Mueller Movie. Who would you cast? Hit us up. We'll call you out. We'll shout you out next week. On the next episode, we'll cast the movie. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah,
yes,
this is fun.
We should make this movie. We're entertainers.
Yeah, we kind of are.
Yeah.
We are. Well, I've had a real fun time, and despite all the horribly sad news this week, I still love hanging out, talking to you guys. So thanks for listening. I'm AG.
Yeah.
I'm Jaleesa Johnson.
I'm Jordan Coburn.
This is Mueller She Wrote. Mueller She Wrote is produced and engineered by AG with editing and mixing by Jaleesa Johnson. Market consulting by Amanda Reeder at Unicorn Creative. Our digital media director and subscriber manager is Jordan Coburn. Fact-checking and research by AG with support from Jaleesa Johnson and Jordan Coburn. Our web design and creative is by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios, and our website is MuellerSheWrote.com.